Next up is Scanmar and Heineken International, and I have to say, I loved Heineken. Why? It's a great product, and even I'm a Belgian, so I think it's great beer. But especially, they have, I think, great marketing. And there the question is, how do you track that, and how do you, let's say, steer the organization to do even better? So, Sjoerd, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I like to start with a question which from why, for God's sake, are we doing brand health tracking? Yeah? We have the duty to inform our business leaders about one of our most valuable assets. That is the way brands are performing. This means that the performance measurement has to be conducted according to the latest standards, has to be reliable and objective. Consumers, they are our bread and butter. They ensure that our salaries are paid at the end of each month. And as a company, we need to understand these consumers in order to deliver them the best solutions. And brand health tracking is not measuring the performance of our communication in detail. It doesn't tell which touchpoint is working better and if the communication message has come through. But a brand health tracking tells you if your credentials have been developed, if your brand is sufficient aspirational, and if you're well connecting. This will lead to prioritize your message streams. Brand health tracking will also tell you if your advertising is noticed, appreciated, and if the brand is developing in the direction of your communication program. And brand health tracking might identify which competitive brands are weakening, as well which introductions are developing well. This is food for thought to identify commercial opportunities. We need not only nowadays a good performing brand, but also in the future. A brand can still generate sufficient money today, but might already be weakening. If that is the case, we need to adjust this phenomenon as soon as possible to secure sufficient earnings in the future in order that salaries as well as pension has to be paid in the future as well. What is in for you? Why are we doing this presentation? First, we would like to share with you that we developed a global infrastructure in collaboration with one agencies, research agencies, and the way we work together to meet our business needs. We will explain to you how we distinguish the fieldwork operations and reporting by the research agencies. Meanwhile, we collaborated with a software supplier to get access to the data. And we also developed standard reporting. And we will explain how we embedded the system in the organization. This reflects then the pre-launch, an agency pitch, the development of the agency infrastructure, and software platform development and implementation. Why did we take a global approach? We installed a brand health measurement at the end of 2004. But 3 years ago, we identified that not all markets were adhering. Results were not comparable due to measurement issues. Results were not delivered in time. Results were not consistent due to agency switches. And markets were also not trained anymore, and some do not understand anymore the reasoning of our framework. And management wants to have a simple and easy to understand brand health tracking system, which is everywhere the same. So we do not need to reconcile the metrics. Now we can focus on the interpretation and meaningful marketing recommendation. Management also wants to trust the figures and not having doubts if the measurement has been done according to professional standards. The brand health tracking should smoothly be incorporated in other systems like brand planning and appraisal. It should deliver the value for money and not being too expensive or too comprehensive. And it should then deliver us one version of the truth that everybody knows and that can trust it. How did we start it? First, we asked ourselves, is our tracking framework still up to date? So what we did, we looked at all brand equity models supplied by you agencies as well marketing consultancy firms. We looked in the marketing literature, what are the latest thinking around brand health tracking. And We also applied a statistical modeling to evaluate if our drivers are indeed still the drivers for brand equity. And we tested the validity of these drivers via modeling together with a respected university. And we also evaluated intensively the feedback of the different Heineken markets, as well our business leaders and stakeholders. And then we developed a brand health tracking which is fitting in our corporate strategy. That is given here with different pillars. The first one is Win and Premium, which is covered since we are led by Heineken, and which is covered since we are measuring Heineken everywhere. The second one is Shaping the cider category. We are measuring the cider category if the category has been developed sufficiently. Third pillar is led by cool marketing innovation, which can only happen if we make sure that we have the best marketeers who can also are fed for their decision taking by a well-developed operating brand health tracking system. And be commercial assertive. We are leveraging the benefits of global scale by operating with one supplier worldwide and one global tool. And then drive-to-end productivity is created by better understanding our consumers and our brands, such that we can streamline our marketing activities. And Brew a Better World, we are measuring if our brands are associated with social responsible behavior, as well as if we think that we are acting responsibly towards the environment and natural resources. Jo, you can take over. Yes, go. Okay.
Good morning. Let me first of all start with an apology. You were expecting my CEO, Meijer, today. Unfortunately, he has been taken ill and asked me yesterday to take over for him today. If you like my interpretation of his presentation, my name is Sjoerd. If you don't, my name is Han Meijer. The line here is basically what you've seen in terms of the growth and the number of markets that have been added to the system since we started last year. And I think we're over 100 by now, Sjoerd, in total, but it's still growing steadily. When we normally approach a project like this, we tend to focus on 4 key areas, and those are quality, consistency, analytics, and data visualization. If you talk about people about quality, they always tend to talk about quality of data. Do the numbers reflect the survey data that you've seen? But quality, it's a result of the processes that you've got in place. By standardizing and automating your processes, you are reducing your error rate. And by reducing your error rate, you've gained more confidence for people using your system. The way we've done that is by automating the processes and by implementing a triple check system. And the triple check consists of a check with the agency. So TNS is doing the field work, they're exporting the data. While they're exporting the data, they're running validation scripts. If the data is found to be okay, it's then promoted to the next stage. We'll pick up the data from them. At that point, we'll aggregate the respondent level data into tables, and we validate the results of those tables with the TNS top-line reports in order to see that we've done the proper aggregation. And the third check that comes into place there is a check at Heineken, where a business user still has the option to do a sanity check to make sure that whatever data is being shown not only technically is okay, but also makes sense. But data is more than just quality. The quality is more than just data. It's about getting your requirements clear. It's not only Scanmar delivering the requirements that Sjoerd has asked us, but it's about getting proper requirements, and that involves a lot of effort. This study is currently being run in about 100 different markets, and that means that Sjoerd has to deal with 100 different stakeholders at least. Aligning those stakeholders is something that you should be doing at the beginning of your project. I think one of the things that Heineken has done quite well is they've created a task force, which they involved at every step of the way in order to create a global buy-in for the analysis that they've tried to come up with. And quality is also, and this is pretty much an open door, but it's also showing relevant information to the users. If you got a person responsible for 2 markets, only show them data for those markets and make sure it's there quickly. Don't make them wait for it. Alongside quality, consistency comes into play. Consistency for any tracker is key. It allows you to analyze data over time. But even more so for international trackers, you need to make sure that all of the countries are aligned in terms of brands that are added to the system. Brands actually do occur in more than one market. And you need to make sure that if you analyze brands across markets, that you're looking at the same brand. And a brand might have different names in different countries. Consistency also comes, is a result also of the processes that are into place. So within TNS, they've set up a structure to make sure that all of the questionnaire changes are aligned across the world. This is the structure they've set up, and this basically consists of 3 different levels. At the global level, in Amsterdam, the Heineken global team talks to the TNS global teams. They make the key decisions of the questionnaire for the questionnaire. At the local level, the local or regional TNS representatives, they talk to the local Heineken people because they're most familiar with the local circumstances. They can provide the local insights best. And in between is an operational layer where the surveys are being conducted on a regional level. And the same layer also facilitates the communication between the local and the global teams. So now we've got the data in our system, and the next phase is that we enrich it with all sorts of marketing analytics. Now by default, users can pivot their data, make selections. By default, we add things like percentages and significance testing, as well as doing proper time series and diff analysis, allowing for missing periods in there. But also for Heineken, we've added things like action standards, like indices to allow them to do cross-country comparisons. And last, we've also created a brand report analysis for them, which is basically an automated way of testing a model that is built by Heineken and creating a textual summary of all of the differences that are found between 2 periods. So it's a really quick way of getting top-line results and allowing the users to look further for the underlying causes. The last part, and this is pretty much the only part that users tend to see, is the visualization. So once the data is in our system, any user that has access to the browser can just go in and based on the data create their own custom charts and tables. They can enrich it by all sorts of rule-based selections. They can add things like conditional formatting, coloring cells if a KPIs changed significantly since last time, or adding up or down arrows on chart charts to show something similar. But by itself, tables don't really tell a story. And it's about getting insights, it's about coming up with a way of analysis, how you sort of look at your data that provides insights to the local teams. Heineken has its own way of how they analyze their data every month. And what they've asked us is to implement that way in a set of dashboards, including navigation that allow the local users to sort of look at their data in a standardized way. And this is a really simple way of sort of implementing the global thinking on a local level. So using basically this approach, we've managed to build an environment within about 3 months initially, catering to about 100 different markets, a couple of thousand brands, consisting out of about 75 key dashboards. And in the months following that, we've built additional regional dashboard sets that are being exported to the local TNS teams and allowing them to share their local insights to the local Heineken teams, providing more in-depth insights. Sure.
So what were the key success factors, the way that it could happen? First of all was C-level endorsement. Our global business leaders wanted the system to steer their brand and discussion with markets. Another way was that we organized a working group with representatives globally, which were involved in the pitch for selecting an agency as well in the development of our software platform. Next to that, we had a continuously and intensive communication, newsletters, webcasts to inform the whole organization about it. We did global on-site trainings worldwide, global, already in Amsterdam, we did it in Edinburgh, Madrid, New York, Sao Paulo and Vienna, and we chose for the so-called trainer-training programs. All CMI managers are trained, which are around 150, and they got then a task to train internally the marketeers. We also had worked with a research agency which has a strong infrastructure, and we had an intensive collaboration with suppliers to monitor the progress and to address in an early stage already certain issues. Then what has it delivered to us? And then next to the Heineken brand, the company has also several global brands which are commercialized. For a few of these brands, we have sharpened the positionings. Thanks to our brand health tracking system, we could pinpoint common improvement areas, which led then to prioritization of marketing activities. This was based upon image perceptions, which has led that we could refocus our communication messages, as well how is the consumer franchise differentiating per market, so that we could clear trial and regular usage goals for these markets. This sounds quite generic, but means that several million euros are spending now dedicated and focused. In 2009, an insight benchmark study was conducted by the Boston Consultancy Group in which 4 pillars are distinguished. The 4 pillars going from the traditional market researcher, reactive, being a postman, focusing on hindsight, towards foresight, indicating clearly the business opportunities and become a learning organization. In this study, BCG found no correlation between spending as a percentages of sales and the quality of market research. What they found is that companies with higher performing market research spend less on consumer insight per full-time insight employee, as a result of which the insight team is not forced to hop from study to study and has instead time to effectively draw out strategic implication through structure and analysis. So because the structure was developed, these CMI departments could focus on exploiting the already current available research. This counts also in our case. Now we have a solid foundation for our brand health tracking. We spend less time on all kinds of troubleshooting. We have more time available to spend on strategic implication and future business opportunities. Thank you.